The topics to be covered today are the definitions relevant to the topic, the goals and scope of clinical pharmacy, and development of clinical pharmacy field. Coming to some of the definitions, clinical pharmacy, as we know, is a branch of pharmacy in which pharmacists provide patient care that optimizes the use of medication and promotes health, wellness, and disease prevention. Clinical pharmacy is relatively different from the way pharmacy education is being provided in India. In general, when we talk about pharmacy education and the roles of pharmacists in India, these roles are primarily related to the industrial roles that the different pharmacists play in different branches. For example, in quality control, quality assurance, manufacturing, etc. But this field, which is still in its infancy in India, but is very well developed in the West, it is the branch of pharmacy which employs the services of pharmacists to provide patient care so as to optimize the use of medications, that is the drugs, and promote the health, wellness, and disease as well as disease prevention in patients. Clinical pharmacists care for patients in all healthcare settings as of today, but this movement initially began inside only big hospitals and clinics in the West. Clinical pharmacists often work in collaboration with physicians and help them to screen the prescriptions and identify any untoward effects that can be predicted based on the prescriptions, any adverse drug reactions that could come. They also help nurse practitioners so that they are aware of the sequence in which the different drugs need to be given toward any drug interactions and adverse drug reactions coming. And they also work with other healthcare professionals to provide the best of the treatment that can be given to the patient under given circumstances. In clinical pharmacy, it's the discipline of pharmacy which embraces the knowledge on synthesis, chemistry, and preparation of drugs. So pharmacy in itself is a very broad field which focuses on how the drugs are synthesized, what is the chemistry, structure, activity, relationships, etc., and how the drugs are prepared. This includes industrial manufacturing, dispensing, preparation, etc., related to the drug. Clinical pharmacy is a branch of pharmacy which is more oriented towards analysis of population needs with regards to medicines, the ways that a drug has to be administered, the patterns in which the drug is being used in a given patient population or in geography, and drug effects on the patient. So this can include the adverse effects, which could be life-threatening, or minor effects, which we can call as side effects, as well as the therapeutic effects. The focus of attention moves from drug to the single patient or patient population receiving the drug. So this is the main difference between the field of pharmacy and the subfield that we call as a clinical pharmacy. The pharmacy actually revolves around a drug and talks about and deals with the synthesis, chemistry, and preparation of drugs, while clinical pharmacy is more oriented towards how a treatment can be given effectively to a single patient, or what are the needs of a population receiving the drugs. Then coming to the goals of clinical pharmacy, the goals are to promote correct and appropriate use of medicinal products and devices. And these activities are aimed at maximizing the clinical effect of medicines. So when the pharmacist looks at the prescription and analyzes the prescription, the pharmacist intends to see if the drug which is being given is suitable for the patient in terms of the therapeutic indications, and then minimizing the risk of treatment-induced adverse events and minimizing expenditures for pharmacological treatment. So another aspect that a pharmacist looks at while reviewing a prescription is whether there are any drug interactions that could precipitate due to the concomitant administration of different drugs, or whether there are risk of adverse reactions coming due to chronic use of drug, or due to drug combinations, or due to the physiological state of the patient. So all these aims, or all these goals, are aimed at minimizing the minimizing the adverse effects, minimizing the expenditure of treatment, as well as maximize the clinical or the therapeutic effects of the medicine that have been given. Coming to development of clinical pharmacy, this is not a very old field, just half a century old. So until mid 1960s, the pharmacists were playing a traditional role of compounding and dispensing of medicines. But during that period, particularly after the Second World War, people started feeling that pharmacists, they are the expert in drugs, and they should be playing more proactive, more important role in the therapy. So the development of clinical pharmacy started in USA shortly after the end of the Second World War. But it took another around 2 decades for this field to develop to a more recognizable field. So more clinically oriented curriculums were designed, and PharmD degree was started to be awarded. And these developments then influenced the practice of pharmacy in UK. So USA was the leader in clinical pharmacy, and then UK followed the suit. So initially, prescription and drug administration records were introduced, followed by increasing pharmacy practice in hospital wards. So initially, the prescription and drug administration records were introduced in the hospital. So all these things were started to be documented, and pharmacists used to review and provide their inputs on these. And later on, the role of pharmacists started in hospital wards also. So they used to take care of. They also used to monitor prescriptions of inpatient in inpatient wards as well as in critical care units. Then in 1976, master degree programs were started in clinical pharmacy for the first time, and the progress of clinical pharmacy development remained at relatively lower profile in the first decade after its birth in the UK. So it was primarily a field which was finding more attention in US as compared to other countries. And after US, the UK was the one which started introducing this field. The Nuffield report in 1986 geared up the momentum for progression of clinical pharmacy in the UK. And then this momentum was so high that there were profound differences in the way clinical pharmacists play a role in US and UK. In the US, the roles of clinical pharmacists were more related to reviewing of the prescriptions, but in UK, it went a step further, and